Hello viewers, Swiftlemer here. Today we're going to take a look at a few modded moons on Lethal Company and rank them. As of recording, Lethal Company is only 5 months old, but within that time it has amassed a large following of people, outsold AAA games on Steam like Call of Duty, and all around surprised many gamers and developers on the platform. With a team of up to 1 to 4 players, Lethal Company puts you in the shoes of an intergalactic employee who runs around many planets collecting scraps to pay off the profit quota set by the mysterious company that hired you, while evading the deadly and terrifying monsters that lurk in the shadows of the facilities. With such a brilliant and praised format, it was a given that other people would eventually come along and start making their own free add-ons to the game. Most of the moons, along with many other mods, can be found and accessed the most easily through an app called Thunderstore. Some of their creations show extreme talent and dedication, and others, not so much. Do I still play them? Yes. Will I explore more in the future? Yes. Will I make another video on it? Probably. I only found out after I finished this recording. I've only just about scratched the surface with modded moons, so I will definitely make an updated ranking video in the future. Anyways, so without further ado, let's get in and see these creators' work as we rank Lethal Company's modded moons. Number 24, Crypt by Alameth. This one couldn't be easier to place. Maybe it was just a problem with loading, but there was quite literally nothing here. There were invisible barriers everywhere, and some graphic rendering glitches. At least it was easy to find the main entrance and fire exit. It could have just been a 1 in a million bug, but as it stands, I don't know what the hell this map was supposed to be, and all that was there was an empty field. Please patch this map in the future, then we'll talk. Number 23, Mertopia by Tolian. This map has wasted potential. It's surprisingly difficult to reach the entrance. No outside monsters can reach you, which means eclipses mean practically nothing. However, the primary gimmick of this map is rather interesting. It includes an apparatus-powered elevator, which was scrapped from the original game. The rest of the map is somewhat underwhelming as well. I could tell effort was put into this map, but frankly, not everything is polished enough and it can get boring real fast. Number 22, Asal by Zamar. Asal seemed like it was going to be a better moon at first, as it looked like a more polished moon. But as soon as we got there, we found out that could not be further from true. The entrance/fire exits are very difficult to find, and the trees were just so incredibly blocky. At least it's easy to retrace your steps back to the ship if you take a wrong turn, but that isn't much of a worthy accomplishment considering how hard it is to find the way into the facility in the first place. Number 21, Abandoned Manor by Garrett FTW. Okay, I honestly don't know what I expected. I had to scroll almost all the way down at Thunderstore to find this map, and I understand why it was pushed to the back pages. It's quite literally just a house, with only one physical fountain in between your ship and the entrance. It's incredibly bland, but at least it has a tad bit of flavor. It also has its own music, which is a really nice addition on a modded moon. It's also relatively low cost to rend, dine, and the other mana-related moons, so you can go to a moon full of higher tier scrap for less. The moon just isn't as beautiful looking to go with that achievement. Number 20, Conviction by Zepson. If you didn't think the marches to and from the facilities on Rend or Dine were difficult, then this map will prove you ain't seen nothing yet. At a very high price of $1,300 a visit, this map is essentially those moons on steroids. It's a much longer trek to the facility, and giants are more than likely to catch you before you can even reach the entrance. The giants can also have a larger range of sight on this map, and there is quite literally nowhere to hide or run, so being spotted by one can essentially only result in inevitable death. The facility itself is just another Manor map, so it isn't really worth the risk, and especially not the money to go out to. It's a nice moon, but it just ain't worth the effort to venture out to. Number 19, Hyrule Field by Daphne. A map based on Ocarina of Time? At first that sounds like a terrific idea, until you remember that Lethal Company is a very different game. The vast open area of Hyrule Field does not hit the same way in Lethal Company as it does in the Zelda franchise. It takes forever to reach any entrance or fire exit. At least if you've played or at least heard of the game, you can correctly assume where they are so you won't get lost. I appreciate the fact that a Zelda fan is trying to make our time worthwhile, and that's why there's another Zelda map much higher up this list. But Hyrule Field isn't the most ideal location for entering a place and extracting loads of loot before a day's over. Number 18, Malevolent Shrine by Spooky Fingers. I was not aware this was based on an external IP. I originally downloaded this map hoping it would be a feudal Japanese ryokan or something similar to that, so I had no idea what my crewmates were going on and on about reference-wise. However, even if I was unaware of Jujutsu Kaisen, is that how you say it? Whatever, that anime's existence, it was still a fairly appealing map. Going into a dragon's mouth is still pretty cool as an entrance. But other than that, this map doesn't really do much differently from other moons listed before it, so it's still a more mediocre moon. Number 17, Cestria by Tolian. Basically Owen's Valley on steroids. This map is far too expansive and it took us 3 tries to find only one entrance. One entrance! However, unlike past maps, it does take a bit more advantage of having an expansive map. Running up the mountains to get a viewpoint of other areas is somewhat rewarding and satisfying. Also, the area around the main entry is actually really well done. It looks like the terrorist base from Iron Man 1. I only have 2 serious complaints about this map. Please make it a little easier to find the entrance. Even if the ship lands on top of a mountain, it still takes a while for players to get the right idea. Also, please patch the Leviathans. They are relentless on this map. Here we go. Number 16, Orion by SF Desat. The most downloaded map in modded Lethal Company. But for what? It's not that great. But I guess it doesn't really do anything wrong either. The outside area does provide decent hiding spots from giants and dogs, even if it's a desert-y map. And the entrance is easily accessible and does look like something the player could be drawn to, so you'll find it more easily than the previous maps. It's a well-organized and a well-designed map, but it doesn't exactly reach for the stars. Number 15, Eurn by Magic Wesley. Now we're getting into the good moons. Eurn starts off as an American desert-style map but gets even better. This map included lore, in this case, the creation of masks and nutcrackers. You can find all sorts of new items around the facility, including syringes, guns, and most curious of all, audio tapes. This map ended up taking a very creative turn, and I honestly liked it. I could do with a little less nutcrackers on this map, but I can't complain. They were supposedly tested here after all. Number 14, Poltergust by V-Night Studios. We knew it was going to happen, and eventually someone did it. The original 2001 mansion where Luigi faced his fears to save his brother Mario, now salvageable for scraps. As they play the original music as you walk up the gates, nostalgia should hit you like a train. It gets even better, because within the facility are several Mario-themed items, such as the Poltergust, Mario's hat, Mario's gloves, and even the painting King Boo trapped Mario in. V-Night knew what he was doing here. I dubbed the abased and cultured person, and the map he has created here did not disappoint. Number 13, Celeste by SF Desat. A tranquil and beautiful moon. It can be hard to find the Endor-like entrances, but the map isn't nearly as big as Hyrule Field or Cestria, so you shouldn't spend that long looking for it. This map is also fairly flat, but the unique and pretty detailed vegetation offers lots of cover from anything that could lurk outside the facility. It's a fairly easy moon, it's oftentimes worth the money to visit, but it can be fairly difficult to traverse the first few times around. Once you learn that, the map becomes a pretty fair moon overall. Number 12, Factory X, or Spring Factory, by Too Lethal for Company. Similar to Eurn, this map has lore implemented into it. Unlike Eurn, the entire map contributes to that gimmick. The idea is that the dreaded coil heads were once manufactured here. There are multiple entrances to the facility, some of them easy to reach, some of them near impossible. The map is huge, but unlike previous maps listed, Factory X makes up for that by having an additional transport to and from the main entrance and the ship. Overall, it's a very risky map that looks deceptively simple, but could prove quite challenging, and the atmosphere of the map contributes to that wonderfully. Number 11, Egypt, by Nitsua. Am I saying that right? It's exactly what it sounds like. It's an Egyptian desert and pyramid. The map is easy to traverse and difficult to get back with multiple dogs and leviathans, but it's fairly nice to players. The ship lands on a large brick pedestal, so even if you're on a planet that's said to be infested by leviathans, there is a point where players do not have to worry about them anymore before climbing into the ship. On a side note, if you have Lethal Escape mod, no map induces more fear into you than this one. Looking out of the ship at the pyramid, and just hearing that jester coming at breakneck speed. Number 10, Cast, by Celery. If there was any map on this list that could be mistaken for a real moon in the vanilla game, it would definitely be this one. With a small layout, it would be hard to believe its danger level is a T, seemingly the hardest. But you should take these warnings seriously. This map has a habit of taking the most notorious of Lethal Company's monsters and spawning them in mass hordes, sometimes spawning more than one jester, for example. Adding to that, the outside is small enough that you will find yourself quickly overwhelmed by dogs and giants, and it's much worse than Titan in this scenario. Much like Conviction, the prices are just far too high. But there are enough positives to discuss about this map to contradict that one factor. If you're a real tryhard, then this is your moon. Number 9, Secret Labs, by Zingar. Going into this map, I knew very little about SCP. It was actually quite amusing. The creator went all out on this design. I even played SCP's Secret Laboratory for the first time a little while afterward for a comparison. The detail is top-notch, accurate, and honestly it's worth it even if dogs spawn as if there's an eclipse daily. I hate that. I will admit it can be a little hard for unknowing people to find the main entrance the first time around, but the fire exits are still fairly easy to find. This map is pretty fun, worth the price, and it's one of the more praised modded moons for good reason. Other mod makers have gone so far as to add even more to this map, including monsters and sound effects from the SCP games. Glad it makes everyone as satisfied as I was. Number 8, Aalis, by Audio Night. This is one of Audio Night's Starlighter planets, and frankly, it's really beautiful. It's easy to find the entrance, hard to reach because large clearances are of significant note on this map, and overall, it just looks majestic. At this point, the accessibility, difficulty, and design outweigh the cost just about every time on the remaining moons on this list. It takes the clear atmosphere of Conviction and marries it with the slightly more reasonable difficulty of Rend, Dine, and Titan. I dare say it's a work of art. I love Aalis. Number 7, Cinema World, by Try to Dive Me. This map is overflowing with creativity. Right off the bat, it says that the hazard rating is PG-13, and that may have been the hardest I've ever laughed in this game. Once you get into the building, it gets even more unique. Each of the theaters has more company crewmates watching an actual motion picture, a sight you don't see anywhere else in vanilla or modded Lethal Company, so far anyway. And when you enter the facility, you're supposedly entering a 3D Dungeon Explorer film. The outside of the theater is a bit expansive, so it may be hard to outrun some enemies, but again, it's nearly impossible to get lost. The person who made this map honestly deserves a gold medal for his work, because this map was just absolutely astounding. I loved it. Number 6, Triskeleion by Audio Night. Another one of Audio Night's Starlancer moons. It's an incredibly beautiful map that looks like it could belong in the main game. It has a reasonable price, easy to navigate layout, and surprisingly, monsters are far less of a nuisance on this map, outside anyways. Triskeleion takes on a toxic waste factory appearance, kind of like Ace Chemicals, and it looks stunning. There are honestly no flaws whatsoever on this map, so even if my description may be somewhat simpler than the previous entry, trust me, it's worth your time. Go check it out. Number 5, Aquaus by SF Decept. Starting off the top 5 is this absolute beauty of a planet. It's free to visit and one of the easiest to navigate. It can be a little difficult to find the entrance as it's a manhole instead of a door. It's a great first moon for modded players, and it's one you can come back to again and again for a pretty good profit. And the monsters love this map too. One time I saw a trio of baboon hawks just sunbathing by the water. The map is a reasonable size, the loot is good, the difficulty isn't terrible, and for once, the cost isn't a factor at all. This is a near perfect moon, and I encourage every person on Thunderstore to get this moon as one of your first ones. It's a perfect tutorial modded moon on every level. Number 4, Atlas Abyss by Zingar. This map is incredibly unsettling. Being another lore-based moon, I wouldn't expect anything less. The explorable areas are prisons on a cliff face around a seemingly endless hole in the middle. The masked mimics were imprisoned here, so you can only imagine what the main threat is. If you have the Scoopies Variety Pack mod, this map becomes the castle map, and it contributes to the atmosphere perfectly. This moon commits to its gimmick on difficulty and scrap level, and more so than almost any other planet on this list. Every idea that went into this map perfectly contributed to the horror aspect as much as the theming, and that is brilliant. Number 3, Clocktown by Daphne. Unlike Hyrule Field, this Zelda map actually worked really well with Lethal Company's system. It's easy to reach and find the multiple entrances. The music cycles through Clocktown's whole OST as the day progresses. This game really puts even more pressure to get the job done on time than most other moons, just as Majora's Mask originally intended. The loot is also really good and accessible. The price, while relatively high, is worth it, especially if you're a grinder. This map is loads of fun in terms of replayability and detail factors. It may not be the most original idea on this map, but it's still great enough to be in the top 3. Number 2, Infernus by Magic Wesley. Holy hell, figuratively and literally. This map was just something else. 6 entrances, an original theme, a distant volcano which does hinder your progress from time to time, additional steam inside the facility, you name it. Magic Wesley outdid himself with this one. It feels very natural to be exploring a magma mine factory in this game. The cost is also very affordable, being only $282 a visit. Honestly, this map is such a feast for the eyes and interesting to traverse that I would encourage it being a game of its own. This is the definitive standard of how to make a fantastic modded map, and not just for Lethal Company, for any game really. Number 1, Acid Ear by Magic Wesley. Even though I really loved Infernus, Magic Wesley still had one other masterpiece up his sleeve, and this is the product of what I believe is the best map in current modded Lethal Company. It's a dense magical forest with an abandoned manor. While it is a tad more expensive and mainly just pleasing to look at and less so to loot for scrap, I honestly don't care. Magic Wesley obviously put a lot of work into this map, and it is just stunning. It shares a lot of positives that made Infernus so damn good, but Acid here is simply just better. It's mysterious, disturbing, but could also be calming and mesmerizing. And that will do it for this video. I will make an updated version sometime in the future with moons that I missed and perhaps newer ones if more released within the time frame. I don't really care if you subscribe or not, but if you enjoyed, please leave a like and comment. Thanks for stopping by. I trust you all will remain great assets to the company for years to come.
Great asset to the company. Great asset to the company. Great asset to the